The internet is hot and cold over Katy Perry's latest Instagram post that features the Hindu goddess Kali. So take a look at the Instagram that she posted on Wednesday. Now, she wrote #current mood when she posted this picture of the goddess. And she's facing the wrath of many Indians who find the post insensitive and also a form of cultural appropriation. Now, I'm gonna read you some of the comments that she received as backlash to this post. It says, it's not right to use God as a meme. You can't just post God and use it as current mood, as you're basically trying to say, oh, look, I'm so like God, which is very rude and disrespectful. Please delete this, says one. This is not current mood. You don't know the real truth behind this pictures. Respect every religion. Now, Kali is the destroyer of evil, and she is the divine mother in the Hindu religion. So I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I like to offer these sort of situations as a means of education, right? And maybe she didn't know, and the commenters are providing her a little bit of education with a backlash. Except that Katy Perry kind of has a history with some cultural appropriation issues, right? So back during the 2013 American Music Awards, she donned a geisha costume and got backlash for that. In her Dark Horse music video, she dressed as an ancient Egyptian and got backlash for that. And then during a Rolling Stones article, she says, I guess I'll just stick to baseball and hot dogs and that's it. I know that's a quote that's gonna come to F me in the ass, but can't you appreciate a culture? I guess like everybody has to stay in their lane, I don't know. So it's like she knows she's doing something that's wrong. She's aware, and she says like it's gonna F her in the ass. She knows that she's gonna get backlash over this. So I don't know why she wants to offend people, right?
I just wanna do it. I wanna do what I wanna do without consequence.
Yeah, I was very curious what your guys' reaction was on this because I'm kind of on her side. Drums, okay. So, but let's talk it out. I'm not sure I'm right, okay? So let me tell you why. I think cultural appropriation is a thing that is used too much. And here's what I mean by that. In the old days, there was. So for example, Elvis takes the rock and roll and then Elvis is awesome, but everybody else, the black guys who are doing it are not good. They're shaking their hips too much. Now I know Elvis got that criticism too, but a lot less than the African-American artists who actually created rock and roll. So that was when cultural appropriation was a thing that it was used against African Americans while you stole, the ideas and the music and the art that they came up with. Now, I know that still exists in a lot of forms today. But when we talk about, well, you took our food or you took our part of our culture. Well, yeah, but it's America. We took the bagel and lox and we took the hummus and we took the pizza and we took the pasta. We took all that stuff and called it America. So I don't think that you're right, Hannah, it's a good point that she does know that it could get her in trouble. Right. She's aware of that. But I don't think that she sent that tweet like, ha ha, Hindus, got you, right? She got married in India, she respects the culture. Well, that might be,
we don't know.
So we don't know.
I agree with you, right? I do think there are lots of cases of cultural appropriation that we're still fighting against today, like when people dress up as Native Americans or when white women get acclaim for wearing dreads and things like that. I think those are big issues that we're dealing with today. I do think that the term is sometimes overused, right? When you're talking about like campuses that are serving sushi and that's cultural appropriation, or people that are doing yoga or cultural appropriating that practice. I do think that it gets overused. I think in this case, what I tried to do, because I'm not as familiar with the Hindu religion, I tried to put it in the position of if like a prominent Jewish or Muslim artist or something like that posted a picture of Jesus on the cross or something like that and said like #current mood. Like that would, I think that would be pretty effed up, and I think people would take that as pretty effed up. And so I can see where they're coming from.
I hear you on that, and I'm being honest here that I'm having trouble escaping my own perspective. And my perspective as agnostic is, and like, okay, so that's Jesus, and so what? And when they draw Muhammad and people flip out, I'm like, yeah, but that's your religion. Everybody else didn't sign on to not drawing Muhammad. If they had, they'd be Muslims, right? And so, okay, you respect Kali, and I'm not Hindu, so why do I have to believe the same things you believe?
Why do I have to respect it? I think that's hard, and I think there is a sensitivity around religious figures that may be marginalized. So maybe her using this symbol seems disrespectful, even if that wasn't her intent. And I think we can't always look at intent, because we don't know what her intent was, to try to absolve her of wrongdoing, to borrow from legal speech. But I think in terms of cultural appropriation, it is a fine line. And I think to your point about expanding cultures and borrowing from cultures, I think that it's fine until you try to kind of benefit from cultural expressions that have been marginalized. So, when Neiman Marcus sells soul food, it's like, what are you doing? And they mark up the price, 200%. It's like, this is teetering on the line of,
again, it's a wonderful disagreement, but they mark up Turkish rugs probably 800%.
And you can petition that, and you can be upset about that.
Well, I'm just not. Hey, have at it, Hoss.
It comes to the dynamic of oppressed and oppressor. Do you know what I mean? If you look at historical context, I think a lot of that comes into play when we're talking about cultural appropriation. And Katy Perry, as a Christian white woman,
although she says she's not Christian.
Well, she was brought up Christian.
That's
true. Yes. Now she says that she doesn't believe in any religion, whatever. But I'm just saying, as somebody who was brought into this world and who came up with white privilege and grew up with Christian privilege, she does sort of fall into the position of oppressor for a lot of different things, and potentially to how people will interpret it.
Okay, so then finally, let me say to my Indian friends, I get that, right? And I know that you are tired of getting picked on and marginalized in the world sphere. So the religions of the book, as they're called, right? Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are dominant, and so people will snicker and they look at the gods and go, of course there's not multiple gods. Right. The Christian will say, instead, obviously Jesus came from a virgin and walked on water, right? And Muhammad obviously went and talked to God on the mountain. Hello, Hindus, your stuff's obviously not true and mine is. And that's super annoying. Now as agnostic, I happen to think none of it is true, right? I probably don't think that guy has, or that person has, or God, sorry, has all those arms, probably not. But Jesus also didn't walk on water, and Muhammad didn't talk to God, and Moses didn't split the Red Sea, okay? Is that the one he split? I think so.
Yeah.
Slash
you look
didn't
at
split.
me.
I know, right? Nice job, anyway. So look, what I'm asking you to do is, I hear you on all that, and you're right. You haven't gotten the best side of history for a long, long time. Now India's a lot more powerful, and you want to show pride, and I understand that. But we got to all live in the world together. So let's cut each other a little bit of a break. And if somebody uses your God, or like the Turks are so touchy about their leaders, or if you show their leader in a wrong way, So I've been there. I know the pride that comes along with it. But it's a big world, we gotta live together. My opinion is, let her use Kali every once in a while. She probably means it in a good way and not a bad way. She's not trying to make fun of you. I think that she got married in India and considers Hinduism as a possible religion she might go into, because she's actually open-minded enough to consider it. It's not such a bad thing. We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks. You power this show. Together, we built something amazing. We've broken stories like the Donna Brazil story the mainstream media wouldn't break. We built the studio, we built this network. It's now #1, all thanks to you guys. Let's come build it even bigger and stronger. TYTnetwork.com/join.